The Parliament of British, they said there should be an end, right? And they made this Act 1858. The authority was the British Crown, but responsibility again, it is our own people, our own Indians who are working for British. What exactly you will benefit from it? Why are you people killing our innocent people? Why you think that you are supposed to stay in our land and then torture us? Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. I'm Vidhyaashram from the Department of Commerce and Management in Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. Welcome to all the students for the Unit 2, Session 1. And here we have constitutional development and its philosophy. So let's know what we have in the first slide. So here when we go with it, the Government of India Act of 1858. Please do remember what India have gone through in 1857. The first revolt is what they name, but it was not the first revolt. We have revolted from 1600. That is, we don't want anybody, a foreigner, to control any of the Indians. But the British, they say that 1857 was the first revolt, and they say the revolt of 1857. After that, they gave us this act, that is 1858. Now, whenever you get any question of this kind, it will be for 5 marks. It is not for 10 marks or it is not for 15 marks. It is only for 5 marks. So what exactly you are supposed to do here is, you need to understand the pattern of the examination. For 5 marks, if you write 5 points and then elaborate it little, you will be getting 5 on 5. But I don't want my students only to know the concept, because there is a subject called Indian Constitution where you will be getting a 60 marks question and you are supposed to write. Please don't do it. Let's know something more about India. Let's know something how our freedom fighter, they had the struggle. Let's know about what was the political strategies or the political doctrine before independence and after independence, right? So here we have the Government of India Act of 1858. See, the namesake, it was the Government of India Act, but the real players were the British. Passed by British Parliament, brought an end to the rule of East India Company. See, this East India Company, they were really not the British Army. They were the company which was set in the Britain. So these people, as a trader, they came to India, and then what exactly they have done? They looted everything. So here what happened? The Parliament of British, they said there should be an end, right? And they made this Act 1858. The power were transferred to the British Crown. So now it was the British Crown. They were the people who were taking all the command, and they were giving instructions what should be done and what should not be done. So this is the act which you are supposed to know. That is, the East India Company, they thought, no, you are not supposed to do anything. Now all the transfers of authority and responsibility were given to the British Crown. But to be very frank with you, to be very honest with you, the authority was the British Crown, but responsibility again, it is our own people, our own Indians who are working for British. They had responsibility, right? Just imagine 20,000 plus Britishers, they came to India. See, the population of India those time, they ruled the entire India. Why it happened? Because there were few people who were Indians, they supported British. So here the Secretariat of State of India was given the power and duties of the former Court of Directors. So here the Secretary got the power, but again, who was the Secretary? Again, the British government appointed a British, right? So it is not like some Indian was there. It was somebody else who was again a foreigner, right? And the duties of the former Court of Directors, he controlled the Indian administration through the Viceroy of India. Again, let me tell you here, the Viceroy was also a British, right? So they started to go with a kind of scalar chain, that is a military concept, where they went with who should be in the top level, who should be in the middle level, who should be in the supervisor level, who should be in the lower level. Every cadre was given into a concentrated power and authority with a slight of responsibility. The Secretariat of State for India was assisted by the Council of India. The council had 15 members. The council was an advisory body. Again, here also, the Council of India, all were Britishers, right? So here they are doing hierarchy in the level of management. So that is what the Government Act of 1858 was. Next is the Indian, please do understand here, the Indian Council Act of 1861. After 1858, they have gone with 1861. What really happened there? Indians were nominated as non-official members. See, here there was no Indian, but now 1861, they have appointed Indians, but they have not got any cadre there. Now, what exactly they have? It is non-official. Why is that they were not given the official membership? I'll tell you here. For the first time in the Legislative Council of Viceroys, the first time, non-official member, they're not official, so they can't vote, they can't talk more. If they talk more, there are people who are going to question them. And let me be very honest with you, there was nobody who was against British to talk there, right? People who favored British, they were the people who were nominated. So Legislative Council were established in provinces and the center. Legislative power of the provinces of Bombay and Madras were restored. So here there are two places, please do understand, where revolts were more, where people started to question. One is Calcutta, now it is called Kolkata, and the next one is Bombay, right? And Madras, here what really happened was Britishers, they made their entire army in Madras, right? So Madras provinces was also there. So Legislative Council was started in the provinces of Punjab, Northwest Frontier provinces, that is NWFP. You can get a 2-mark question, that is NWFP, and we had Bengal. So these were what was later added, that is 1861, because here Bengal and Punjab, they started to revolt more about it. Indian Council Act 1892, I'll just tell you, we had this 58, then 61, and now it is 1892. The size of the Legislative Council was increased. The Legislative Council was given more power. They had the power to deliberate on the budget and could pose question to the executive. See, now you are able to understand. 1858, no Indians. 1861, Indians were there, but non-official member. Now, 1892, now understand the difference here, right? 1858, and if you go with it, 1892, just understand the difference when they were started to ask questions, right? So I'll repeat the same thing. The size of Legislative Council was increased, done. The Legislative Council was given more power, little power were given. They had the power to deliberate on the budget and could pose questions to the executives. Indirect elections were introduced for the first time. So till now, elections were not there. It was only appointment by the British government. So anybody who favored British government, they were the people who were non-official member, right? Now what happened? It is not direct election. It is again indirect election. Here also the nominations which were filed, whoever were in good terms of Britishers, they were supposed to file the nomination. The principle of representation was introduced as per provisions given in the Indian Council Act 1892. That is how the Indian Council Act they gave it. Like that only they were started to do it. So please do understand the criteria here. Next is the Indian Council Act, that is 1909, that is 1909. Morley-Minto reform. It is very famous. You might get this for 5 marks. About briefly explain what really happened. So Indian Council Act of 1909 is commonly known as Morley-Minto reform. He is the person who started to reform those things. For the first time, direct elections were introduced. See, direct elections were introduced when? 1909 for the Legislative Council. The Central Legislative Council was renamed as the Imperial Legislative Council. They only changed the synonym of center to imperial. The communal representation. Now please do understand, take a glimpse here. The communal representation system was introduced by giving separate electorate. Now here, electorate, if you go with it, it was a system where seats were reserved only for Muslims and only Muslims would be pooled. Now understand what really they have done. That is what the Morley-Minto reform is all about. Now, positions were given, that is they gave it only to the Muslims and only Muslims would be pooled. For the first time, Indians were appointed to the Executive Council of Viceroy. See, earlier they were only in the council. Now the Viceroy Council, the first time they gave it in 1909. See, 1909, first time. And they are not doing any favor again. Whoever were very good with the Britishers, they are the people who were appointed. They were appointed for what? For Executive Council of Viceroy. So this is what the Morley reform is all about. Government of Act 1935. Now many things has happened. Many things went tossed here. India started to ask questions, right? The Indians started to ask questions. Why you people are doing all these things? What exactly you will benefit from it? Why are you people killing our innocent people? Why you think that you are supposed to stay in our land and then torture us? Now this act, please do understand how the I&C, Indian National Congress, they supported India to get freedom here. Now this was the longest and last constitutional measure introduced by British rule in India, that is a British India. It was the result of multiple roundtable conference and a report by the Simon Commission. Now you would have heard about this, right? Simon Commission. Many people, they started to protest against Simon and they started to go with a chant saying that Simon, go back. And what really happened, right? Which you all know. Now bicameralism. Now bicameralism means there are two things, right? Bicameralism was introduced in 6 provinces, that is Bengal, Bombay, Madras, Assam, Bihar, United Provinces. Out of 11 provinces, the legislature in the provinces were enlarged. As per the act, the power were divided into federal list, provisional list and concurrent list. And the last one is provincial autonomy was introduced to the provinces by abolishing diarchy. So the meaning of diarchy, say monarchy in the sense 1, right? Diarchy in the sense 2. There were British also, there was Indian also. So that was taken away. Next is Cripps mission. Now, Cripps mission can be a 5 marks question for you people. I've just given you 5 points. It's more than enough if you go with it, right? So here, domination status would be given to India after the Second World War. They said now, Second World War is for sure. Okay, 1942, it is for sure. So you need to support the British. There were 2 teams, Alliance and the Axis power. Now then what exactly it is? You fight with us, we're gonna give you freedom. That is what they said. That is, domination status would be given to India afterward the Second World War. Once the Second World War ends, an elected body would be set up in India for framing the Indian Constitution. So that is what the Cripps mission said. The Indian state would participate in constitutional making body. Almost all the parties and sections in India rejected the proposal given by the Cripps mission. Whatever he said, right? There are so many things what he said actually. That's the reason many of the people, they said Cripps mission should be rejected. Next is Cabinet Mission 1946, that is 1 year early to our independence. The Indian states and British provinces would combine to form Union of India. See, our India is not united by states, it is Union of India. Say when I say USA, United States of America, there are 50 states which came together, they united. That's why it is called United States of America. They have dual citizenship. Whereas Indians, we people have only single citizenship. The reason is it's all about the Union of India. The Constituent Assembly would be established consisting of 389 members. 14 members from major political parties would form an interim government. Interim, within them they are supposed to make a government. A representative body would be formed named as the Constituent Assembly. Assembly is there. Until the constitution was framed, the Constituent Assembly would act as the dominant legislature. So that is what, until our own constitution, that is Constituent Assembly, with the constitution was framed, it is what? Dominion legislation. Until the constitution was framed, India would be administrated as per Government of India Act 1935, whatever 1935 Act was there, right? That we gonna abide by till they have their own constitution, that is 1946. They'll abide by the 1935 Act. Next is Mountbatten. Now he's a last person, the Britishers who was there here. Mountbatten Plan, that is the Indian Independence Act 1947. British India was partitioned into India and Pakistan with effect from 15 August 1947. Pakistan got independence on 14th of August 1947. Here, whenever I see this, right, British India. The word is what? British India. That was partitioned into India and Pakistan. Don't you feel this actually led to the problem of the Pakistan and India? Who did it? The Britishers. They are actually good with Pakistan also, they are actually good with India also. But who are the people who are suffering? Both the Indians and the Pakistanis. Now please do understand here, because of somebody, we people were fighting. And it continued. Now we are 2024. Still now, if you go with it, there are so many attacks from Pakistan to India. Don't you feel that? The reason? 1947. Who was the person? The Mountbatten. Conferred complete legislative authority to the Constituent Assembly, established government in both provinces and the states. British India was to be partitioned into two dominions, that is the India and Pakistan, which happened. Now 14th of August is when Pakistan got independence, and 15th of August 1947 where we got the independence. See, one of the interview I just saw where the British official, he says this openly. He said, Mountbatten wanted to ask, when do you need independence? So Nehruji was there. He said, whenever you feel like giving it, you just give it to us. Because he was desperate that if he says a date, they will not accept it. So he said, when you want to give, you give it. So he was like, okay, fine. 15th of August, I'm thinking that I'll be giving you. So Nehru said, okay, fine, we will go for it. Now he asked Muhammad Ali Jinnah, say, when do you want independence? And Muhammad Ali Jinnah said, I want a day before India got independence. See here, there also he did not have any clarity, right? And then you need to understand why 15th of August. See, 15th of August, the Second World War is a huge impact in the entire Japanese, that is the Americans, right? They put the first nuclear bomb, that was on 15th of August. That's the reason the 15th of August 1947 was the chosen date by the Britishers, because they wanted entire country to know that 15th August what was the impact, right? So moving on, we have the next one, the Mountbatten, the continuity, because it's a 5 marks question. Please do understand. As per the plan, legislative assemblies of Bengal and Punjab met and voted for partition. Accordingly, it was decided to partition these two provinces along religious lines. Say now here, Punjab, here in India you have a place called Punjab. In Pakistan also you have a place called Punjab. Now Bengal was divided into East Bengal and West Bengal, where East Bengal was known as the Bangladesh. The Legislative Assembly of Sindh would decide whether to join the Indian Constituent Assembly or not. It decided to go to Pakistan. The date for the transfer of power was to be August 15th of 1947. Then and there itself, the transfer should happen. That is what Muhammad Ali Jinnah asked. Next is composition and debate of Constituent Assembly. Now here, the idea of Constituent Assembly was to put forward for the first time by M.N. Roy. In 1935, the Indian National Congress, that is I&Ic, were for the first time officially called for the Constituent Assembly to frame a constitution for India. In 1938, Jawaharlal Nehru made this empathetic statement regarding the constituent, that is, the constitution of free India must be framed without outside interference by a constituent assembly elected on the basis of adult franchise. Now here, please understand, Jawaharlal Nehru has contributed too much to the Indian freedom struggle. Now, what exactly his vision were in 1938? Please understand, we are not talking about 2024 or 20. We are talking about 1938, when we never thought that the Britishers gonna give us independence. We have no clue at all. But where his vision was what? That is, he wanted the constitution of free India must be framed without outside interference. That means he's directly telling, right? We don't want Britishers to poke their nose. The demand for the Constituent Assembly was accepted for the first time by the British through their August offer of 1940. Eventually, a Constituent Assembly was established under the provision of the Cabinet Mission Plan. See, here also the date is what? Here the August offer. They were very particular about August. Next is the composition. Now here, when we come to the composition of the council, please understand, total strength of the assembly was 389. 296 seats for British India and 93 seats for princely states. 292 seats allocated for British India were from the 11 governor province and 4 from chief commissioner province. Now seats were allocated based on proportion of their representative population. They started to count the population and then they started to decide how many seats to be given. Composition of the council. Now here, seat allocates to each British province were to be decided among the 3 principal, that is, communities, that is Muslim, Sikhs and general. Representatives of each community were to be elected by member of the community in the provisional legislative assembly, and voting was to be by the method of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote, that is, one person will vote only one person. Representative of princely states were to be nominated by the head of these princely states only. So that was the council composition. Next is working of the Constituent Assembly, how it started. First meeting was held on December 9, that is 1946. Muslim League did not participate in the first meeting. temporary presidents in the first meeting, that is Dr. Sachidananda Sinha, very famous person. After elections were held, Dr. Rajendra Prasad and H.C. Mukherjee were elected as the president and vice president of the Assembly Representative, respectively. Sir B.N. Rao. B.N. Rao also played a very huge role in this. Appointed as the constitutional advisor of the Assembly. That was after independence, right? So here, please do understand, when we go with all these, you will get to know the history of it. Now, the same way, once the Mountbatten plan was passed, even members of Muslim League who were part of Indian territory participated in proceeding of the council. Member of princely states who had stayed away from the proceeding initially also participated. Constituent Assembly held 11 sessions over 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. Last session of the Constituent Assembly was held on January 24, 1950, because after 2 days we got our Republic Day, that is 26th of January 1950. Any doubt regarding this entire session, please do call us. We're always there to help you. Thank you so much. I'll see you when I see you. Thank you.